Hi class. I'm going to be presenting part two of my PowerPoint slides, and we're going to be talking about logical fallacies, which are errors in argument. And we're going to get started right now. Logical fallacies are errors in argument. Sometimes when an author is biased, the author's reasoning is faulty. There are different types of logical fallacies. A good reader must be able to distinguish logical fallacies from good argumentation. So these PowerPoint slides include some of the logical fallacies, but not all. Your book has some different ones as well, and I'm going to go through these with you right now. The first type of logical fallacy is called faulty cause and effect. The Latin word is post hoc ego propter hoc. Logical fallacies come from Latin argumentation. So that's why you'll see a lot of Latin wording in logical fallacies. So the Latin meaning, after this, therefore, because of this, suggests that because B follows A must cause B. But just because there are two events or two sets of data are sequential does not necessarily mean that one caused the other. So here's an example. Because I washed my car, it rained. There's no evidence that washing your car brought on the rain. So the act of washing the car has nothing to do with our weather system. That's why it's a faulty cause and effect to say because I washed my car, it rained. So the cause and effect have to have something to do with each other in order to be a logical argumentation process. The next type of logical fallacy is called non sequitur, which means it does not follow. A non sequitur applies to any argument in which the conclusion does not follow from the evidence. She will make a fine governor because she was an excellent attorney is an example of a non sequitur. There's not a lot of reason to believe that because she was an excellent attorney, she will make an excellent governor. These two skill sets are very different from attorney to governor. So it won't. There's not enough evidence to back that up, and that's the non sequiturs. There's got to be some evidence to back up the reasoning to follow one to the other. The next type of logical fallacy is called circular logic. In this type of fallacy, the conclusion restates the information presented as evidence. Here's an example. Al Gore lost Tennessee because he didn't get enough votes. Well, Al Gore losing Tennessee and not getting enough votes says the same thing, and it's just very repetitive over and over again. That's called circular logic. There's not enough information presented to give to us so that we know more. And so that repeating of ideas is called circular logic. The next type of logical fallacy is called hasty generalization, and many people do this. In this fallacy, the conclusion is based on too little evidence. So here's an example. Mario had a bad marriage, which ended in divorce. Mario concludes that all women are no good because of his marriage. So that's a very drastic statement to say that all women are no good because of one bad marriage. And to use the word all, including every single woman on this planet, is a huge hasty generalization. So we don't know that all women are no good. Well, actually, we pretty much know that people are different. So we could say some women are no good, or we could say that Mario attracts women who are no good. That might be more sensible, but we can't make it's a hasty generalization for Mario to say that women are no good and all women are no good because he didn't have a good marriage. Maybe he just picked the bad one and he was the only one who picked the bad one. So his generalization would it's something for you to note, because if somebody makes a hasty generalization like that based on their experiences, you want to question that as a good reader, and definitely as a critical reader, and definitely in argumentation. If someone were to make a statement like that, you want to question it. And then there's the either or fallacy or false dilemma. This is a fallacy when only two choices are given. People who present the either-or fallacy do not recognize a complicated issue. They only present their argument with two sides. The either-or argument fails to see that there are many sides of an issue, and certainly a lot of issues have many, many dimensions to them. So if a person says only gives you two options, you need to question that too as a critical reader. A false analogy. In this fallacy, a false analogy is a false comparison. So two things that may not really be similar are portrayed as being alike. The store brand of coffee may be packaged to look like the name brand, but are the two the same? We have to ask some questions to determine the answer. Is the coffee the same quality? Is there as much coffee in the can? So that could be like the difference between U-Ban and Ralph's Coffee. We, 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 it's a false analogy to say that they're both the same type of coffee because we don't really know. Or to say that they're the same packaging because we don't know. And you have to really look at the ingredients, and you have to really look at the product to be able to tell if they are the same and that you can compare them. Another example is by comparing the war in Iraq with the war on the drugs in the streets. The two are completely different kinds of wars. In most false analogies, there is simply not enough evidence to support the comparison. So what you want to know is there enough evidence to support this comparison? As a critical reader, you want to start looking for some facts to support the idea. Ad hominem argument, which means the argument against the man, a person. It could be a woman too. But this fallacy involves an attempt to discredit an argument by attacking a person making the argument. For instance, saying Jill is a liar does not discredit Jill's argument that free speech is critical in a democracy. Her personal speech has nothing to do with free speech for others in general. So another example is saying that Bill Clinton is a womanizer and that's why he can't run the country. His personal life has nothing to do with how he governs as a president. So an ad hominem argument attacks the person, not the agenda or the issues that they're talking about. An ad populum argument is called an argument to the people. This kind of argument seeks to win agreement by making an appeal to common prejudices, values, and emotions. So any commonality a group of people would have would be an ad populum. PCC students would have some commonalities, or certain people that belong to a club in these ways that they have a commonality. So here's an example with Americans. Americans are strong, independent, and free, so we need to privatize Social Security. Well, the question you may want to ask is, do any of these values have anything to do with privatizing Social Security? It's really, really important. That's the issue, not that we're strong, independent, and free. A red herring. This fallacy involves directing attention away from a debatable point to one that most people will quickly agree with. An uncooked herring has a very strong odor. If a herring is dragged across the trail of an animal that dogs are tracking, the dogs will abandon the original scent and follow the scent of the herring. So the herring has a very strong odor. It's a fish kind of meat. A red herring argument is meant to distract the listener from the issue at hand. So instead of looking at the one issue, you're distracted by looking at the other issue. And here's an example. It's pointless to worry about too much violence on television when thousands are killed by drivers every year. Well, violence on television is completely different than car accidents or people who are killed by drivers. It's a completely different type of idea. So to move that idea away causes a red herring, to distract your reader. A slippery slope. This fallacy assumes that taking a first step down a path will necessarily lead to later steps. If we let X happen, the next thing you know, Y will happen. So the image is one of a boulder rolling uncontrollably down a steep hill. The boulder can't be stopped until it reaches the bottom. So here's an example. Requiring ratings on record labels would lead to censorship and government control of free speech. So that's a really big step from going to requiring ratings on record labels to government control of our free speech. So a slippery slope is when it's like you're going down a hill and the boulder is getting larger and larger and larger. So the issue is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But it's making a lot of assumptions and it's building a lot of ideas that might not necessarily be true. And that's what a slippery slope is. So those are my PowerPoint slides. Um, we're going to have discussions about this, and we're going to be talking about this for probably the rest of the semester, these logical fallacies. Make sure that you study them because they will be on quizzes. Okay, bye for now.